We almost pulled the trigger on a 1 p.m. Sunday service. And one day, Pastor Jason just came to us and he goes, what about the idea of a Thursday service? Like to reach people that we're not reaching and nobody else is reaching. Sometimes you've got to do something new. We did not realize the amount of new people that was going to attract.
Welcome to Growing Churches with Judson Aulie, where we explore real stories and practical strategies from churches that are thriving so you can grow yours too. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining in and listening here. Today I'm excited that I have Candy Greene from Bethlehem Church. Now, this church has had some amazing growth over the past few years. They're a multi-site church and we've loved our relationship with Bethlehem over the years. Some really great people there, and especially Candy. So I'm super excited to have Candy on. Candy, thanks so much for joining us for one of our first podcast episodes.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, nice to have you. Now, I want to go right into, I'd love to hear, a lot of people listening. We've got pastors, but there's also a lot of communications directors at churches. So I think there's a lot that they can learn kind of from this conversation. So I'd love to start just hearing more about yourself. So tell us more about yourself and kind of how you got into leading communications at Bethlehem.
Yeah, so a really cool thing about me, I have actually been a member of Bethlehem Church for almost 23 years. So it was cool to sit in the seat, as a member and an attendee and just watch it grow and develop the way that it has. I had the opportunity to come on staff 8 years ago. And I actually came on staff in a guest services and community role. I shifted quickly from guest services to community director full-time before jumping into communications 3 years ago. So it's been exciting. When I came on staff, I think I was about the 12th employee, and now we're kind of pushing 70. So back when I came on staff, multiple staff members wore multiple hats. So I love my transition, kind of the way I got into it. I really thought comms was a bit of a dream job. I thought that was super cool. I didn't know if I had the gifting to do it, but thought, man, that's something I'd love to do at some point. I have a finance degree. That was my background in education. So I didn't have any type of marketing or anything else. But over time, the Lord just opens the doors and he equips you when you need to be equipped. And so as we went into our giving initiative, which brought us into the new building that we're in now, leadership pulled me in and wanted me to lead the engagement side of the initiative with all of the communication pieces, the commitment cards, making sure all campuses were united together in what we were saying and how we were saying it. And simultaneously, we were looking for a comms director. And really, we had some people in that role, but it was the first time we really started understanding what was needed in that role. And so as they were looking, there were some interviews that happened and everything, and they ended up circling back to me and said, first thing they did was, wow, we really think you'd be great at that. But the initiative is so important. That's where we need you to be. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, I love it. Both things I think are great opportunities for me. And so as we kind of marinated about a month on that, they circled back and said, the more we're thinking about this, their comms director and all of the communication for the initiative are so closely related. And it automatically would lead to a lot of conversations with leadership, going throughout the initiative. So they're like, I think maybe one person could do both things. Would you be interested? And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. They're like, well, pray about it. Don't give an answer. And then like another month went by and I literally told my husband, do you think they changed their mind? Are they going to go a different direction and they haven't told me yet? And so then, of course, the day came where they made me the offer and we have been full speed ahead, have not looked back since. It's been amazing.
Awesome. How long ago was that?
That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay.
3 years ago.
Very cool. Did you realize, what all went into communications and a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
Leading the communications at
The first
such a larger
year,
church.
yes, that coupled with our Because initiative, like I jokingly tell people I just blacked out that time period. Like I can't tell you what happened. I don't really know how we made it through. I was
Yeah.
drinking from a fire hose for sure.
Yeah.
That year, it was really great for me to have to I move into something where I had to learn and I had to ask questions because I've always been the expert in what I was doing. So my background in banking, I was very involved in our local community and in nonprofits. And so that was natural for me coming into Bethlehem. So it's been a great time of me to kind of learn and develop. I've not fully arrived, obviously, but just how over the last 3 years, it's changed in me from just learning internally. I already knew our culture. I'd already been on staff a while. I've attended here a long time, but all the ins and outs. And then I always look at comms as serving the ministries. That's what me and my team are here to do. So how do I help make things better? How do I not only get them what they need, but help make things we're doing better and easier to access? So it's been fun. I love coming to work.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that story. Another question I have for you is, I know Bethlehem has had quite a bit of growth over the past few years. Can you tell us more about Bethlehem Church and share how the church has really grown across multiple campuses?
Yeah, so one of the cool things when I first came on staff at the church, literally it was New Year's Day, January 1st, 2017. We launched our second campus, our first, campus outside of Central, the end of January. So I got to jump in at the last minute and be a part of that. But the crazy thing is we never set out to have a multi-campus model. Like our lead pastor didn't. It wasn't something, that was discussed in leaderboard meetings. That church and then the other church, which eventually became our Oconee campus, approached us about a partnership and taking them over. And of course, prayerfully considered. That was a door. Both of those were doors that the Lord opened for us. So that's been super cool. We can't fully explain the growth that we've had. I mean, obviously, God's been moving here, and Pastor Jason has said a lot of times in different settings that we just try to set our sails like a sailboat to go find out what he's doing and be a part of it, as opposed to being a rowboat where we have our own agenda and things we're trying to accomplish outside of him.
That's beautiful.
And
I love that.
fight against. Yeah, I thought it was a beautiful illustration.
Absolutely.
But it's just been really cool to see all that's happened. Like we jokingly and seriously say, like, there's not a single one of us that's that good at what we do that we can take credit for what's happening here. It's really just walking in obedience.
Absolutely.
I think we try.
I love the way you put that. You do need to hoist the sails, right? But there is.
Yes,
right.
we have a response and obedience part to it.
Absolutely. I love that.
One thing I think we have seen at Bethlehem that is probably unique is just a whole new level of authenticity has been happening here. Like the vulnerability, people opening up. We all say that leads to transformation. Vulnerability leads to transformation. And so 2 of our ministries, Regeneration and Reengage, they are booming right now. They are really growing. And Reengage is for anybody with hang-ups, habits. Regeneration is anybody with hang-ups, habits, hurts. That can be addiction to codependency to, anything else. There's different types of programs out there for that. But Regeneration is the one we use as a tool here. It is just amazing, especially men and women, but at a time where a lot of people consider women to be more spiritual heads of the households, to see the men we have stepping up in surrender and transforming their lives has been incredible. And then re-engage. I remember it's been a handful of years now in a staff meeting. Our lead worship pastor, Joel Goddard, one of my favorite people, he asked the staff, he said, I want to invite you to join me in praying for marriages, that Bethlehem would be a place where marriages are restored, where people can literally walk in the doors and feel something. And this has been, man, maybe even 5 years ago. And we now, this year, fully maxed out our re-engage marriage ministry with the number of slots we had. I think it's over 100 couples
Wow.
involved.
So cool.
And so it's cool because I can remember back to like that seed being planted and now kind of seeing some of that come to fruition. So that all takes people being vulnerable to take those steps and then allow God to move and work. So that's probably one of our favorite things at Bethlehem is life change. Like that's why we're here. So that's been super exciting to tangibly see that happening.
Oh, I love that. And I love to hear about, with the men, how they are really becoming those leaders, in terms of the faith, because I hear that all the time with churches. It's like it's the women, they're the ones dragging the men to church. Like it shouldn't be that way. So I love that. And so you've seen a lot of that success happening from that marriage, the marriage conference conference, or it's a
small group.
It's a small group.
Actually a group.
Yeah. Okay.
So we get our curriculum from an organization called Re-Engage. So we have a full curriculum from them that we utilize.
So cool. I love that. So tell me, I know a couple years back, I just remember being impressed by how you launched your Thursday service. And it was super successful. I think from the start, it was from the start or shortly after, it was already 500 people were in attendance. So tell me more about that. Like what do you think contributed to the success of that particular service launching on a Thursday of all days?
Yeah. Well, the honest answer is we have no idea. I mean, Sunday school answer, God did it, of course. But there were actually, that was obviously a decision that was talked through and prayed through and thought through. So we knew in years past, Pastor Jason, he's been with us, I think 14. And again, I just came on staff 8 years ago, but I was a member here already. So in the past, in his earlier days, when there was first a need for some expansion, he tried a Saturday night service, which didn't take off really well. Years later, we tried a Sunday night service. And at the time, we had on-campus small groups. So our setup before we moved late last year, we shared a campus with a school, Bethlehem Christian Academy, that actually launched over 20 years ago out of Bethlehem Church. But we were able to utilize their classrooms for small group. So that was a bit of a win. You could come for 5 o'clock service and then you could go straight to small groups, childcare provided on campus. So that helped us move people for a season. When we hit COVID, we could no longer use the school because of their cleaning protocols. There just wasn't enough time to have it ready for students the next morning. And obviously you had that first season of everybody having to remain at home. But when we tried to do 5 o'clock again without small groups attached to it, it just didn't take off. There just wasn't people coming in the morning, didn't, to serve or attend, didn't want to come back to serve or attend that night. So as we went into this season where we knew we needed to build this new building, we already kind of knew Saturday night wasn't a great option. Sunday night, now we averaged about 300 people on a Sunday night without groups. So we kind of knew what that would do, and that wasn't going to move enough people. We almost pulled the trigger on a 1 p.m. Sunday service. We came down to the wire. I don't think many people even know that. We were almost committed to go with a 1 o'clock service. And one day, Pastor Jason just came to us and he goes, what about the idea of a Thursday service? To reach people that we're not reaching and nobody else is reaching. Sometimes you've got to do something new. So there's never been
people who are working Sundays, right? Or they're at the hospital working, or they can't make the weekend work. Yeah.
Yes. So he's like, why not? Like we obviously have had momentum, continue to have momentum. He's like, it's a great time to try something new. Why don't we just try it? And we did. And honestly, I mean, I would say our goal was probably about 500 people. Getting about 500 people to move. We moved a handful of people, but we did not realize the amount of new people that was going to attract
Okay,
to
because
the
that's what I was going to
campus.
ask. Interesting. So a
Yes.
decent amount of new people. right off the
Yes,
bat.
I mean, probably majority of new people. And what we kind of found out with people with travel ball and other travel rhythms, a lot of people were able to get into a service on Thursday before they went out of town for the weekend. And a lot of people in healthcare industry with odd hours required to work a lot of Sundays. I talked with someone just a few months ago, longtime Bethlehem people. The husband, I think he's a paramedic, and the wife was telling me like for years he wasn't able to go to church because it was on Sunday. But now that we had the Thursday, they were able to start attending. And the cool thing is, so we averaged about 500 to 600 people, and we keep seeing that move up. So we're about 700 to 800 people every Thursday night.
Wow.
And we do baptisms once a month. And since we started the Thursday service, there has always been at least one baptism, usually more, every
month.
Thursday night.
Wow. That is so cool. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, my good friend is a pharmacist, and he's multiple Sundays he has to miss because he has to work, he has to work at the pharmacy. And so I love that idea of having something during the week for all, especially people in medical.
And
wow,
what we
it's so
didn't...
cool to see how many new people, because that was the big question. I was like, was that majority
Yes.
people moving, so that they could leave room on Sundays? But no.
It was a handful. We typically get a big shift, initially when we make an ask, like make this your new service time. And then slowly people, trickle back into that 9:15 service or whatever it is. But the neat thing we didn't realize going into it was the Thursday service kind of broke down some barriers for people. Certain people, this is based on feedback we got, that may not step foot in a church on a Sunday, like whatever their history is, or they're just too intimidated by the idea, or the larger crowds were really more susceptible to accept an invitation and come. So that was something cool we learned on the backside of it as well.
I love that. So how has Bethlehem used digital ministry, including Google Ads and website and things like that, to engage with your local community and reach new visitors?
Well, it has been super important. I don't think it's a secret for anyone that digitally that's your new front door. I don't think I've talked to any newcomer to Bethlehem who hasn't first watched us online. In most cases, they've watched an online service. At a minimum, they've been on the website, and or they're following us on social media. So that is where
foyer,
people...
right? The new foyer is the website, right?
They are already forming an impression, of the church before they get here. They are proactively learning more about where they're going before they get here. So we know that's super important for attracting newcomers. And obviously, Click has been a crucial partner with us in making that happen, with maximizing our SEO. And you guys, I'm sure it is part of your job description. I don't know if it is, but y'all are always so helpful for me. I ask you guys an array of questions of things I'm doing or looking to do, and you guys have helped direct me. I'm sure you remember just last year, I completely revamped our entire website, moved us back into WordPress, and reached out to you guys with, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. This is why. Here's how I'm looking to set pages up and consolidating. And April, who I work with directly, gave me a ton of great feedback of making sure we get that set up to best reach and attract people. So that's been big. And then we find too, used to the rhythm of attending church was every other week. I don't know if this is an official church stat, but now it's more like 1 out of every 4 weeks. People typically attend a church in person. And so online helps us still continue to shepherd people and stay connected to them. And what Click helps us to do, which is our overall goal, is always face-to-face connection. So digital to us is always a tool. Nothing is more important than face-to-face connection. So we're hoping what we do on the web, on social media, or whatever is ultimately driving people here to have a relationship with Jesus first and foremost, and then build a community around them.
That's great. Yeah, definitely having that online online service is great for those people who, they may not be able to make it that specific Sunday, but I love that, you're pushing them to have that face-to-face, because really, I think a huge part of church is it's that community, right? It's
crucial.
When we moved down to Florida a few years ago, it was like, we need to find, a church with young families like ours, that we could get connected, have community. You can't really get that when it's online.
Yes, exactly.
But you guys do such a great job on both on the digital side and obviously on the in-person side. I think you do a great job of marrying those together, and getting people to have community. And I want to get into that more in a little bit, but I think you guys do a great job of connecting with first-time guests and really making them feel welcome.
Okay, my AirPods just went out.
Did they just go out? Okay, no problem. You can take it out and let's see. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you at all now.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, fingers crossed it'll get us
Fingers
through.
Crossed. Okay. So we had some technical difficulties with headphones, but we are back on. Candy, you guys have done a great job with campaigns like Night to Shine and Women's Breakfast. How do events like these contribute to building community and attracting new people?
Yeah, so Night to Shine is just one event that displays the heartbeat of our church. We have a strong passion for serving families with special needs. We actually have, I can't remember the number, I just talked with our special needs pastor the other day, but we have over 100 opportunities in any given year for individuals or families with special needs to have connection and community. So Night to Shine is one big thing that we do, which obviously is a partnership with the Tim Tebow Foundation, and it happens worldwide on the same night, and we attract a lot of people from the community outside of Bethlehem Church to both serve and be the families that we are honoring that night. So that's really cool. And this past year, when we did it in February, there were a lot of conversations with families who didn't realize we have a special needs ministry. We have somewhere where their child or adult can be safe and cared for and learn about Jesus on their level while they are able to be fed in our adult ministry. So it's really cool. We have Dream Team, which we have a waiting list to get into right now, but that's about 40 or 50 high-functioning special needs adults who come in and serve the church twice a week. And it is a variety of things. We are in the midst of the digital fast, which we've partnered with other churches across the country to do.
I'm curious to hear more about that, too.
Yes. Our digital engagement. It's funny we're having this conversation because our digital engagement's as low as it's ever been.
Yeah.
So we bought 4,000 digital fast workbooks, and we made a custom bookmark with a QR code to our digital fast resource page to go in the books. So the Dream Team stuffed all the books with bookmarks for us. So they do a lot of things that help us do ministry. And the neat thing, kind of in the same thread with digital fast, even though our church is largely participating in the digital fast, we can't lose sight of our online audience isn't all bought in Bethlehem people and specifically participating in the digital fast. So we've tried to change our, when it comes to socials, change our rhythm a little bit on posting, not posting quite as much and posting some digital fast updates, but we didn't want to just go silent for 28 days.
Right.
Because,
for the new people.
Yes, it's like,
Right.
well, what happened to them? What are they doing? So it's kind of
Right.
trying to merge honoring and participating in what we're doing, but continuing to reach people. So that's
Yeah.
been fun.
Wait, when did that start? How long is that digital fast
So
going?
yesterday was 2 weeks into it. So we're at the halfway point, and
Okay.
it is 28 days. So I
Yeah.
think Palm Sunday, if the math is right, I think Palm Sunday may be the last day. So it's
Okay.
been really cool to see people take it to heart. And
Yeah.
Pastor Jason's messages each week obviously are focusing on scripture, but then there's always a piece of how it ties to what we're feeding ourselves, what we're consuming, how our phones own us instead of the other way around. And we like to think it's a problem of the next generation, but we're just as guilty. So
Yeah.
just pointing all of that out right now.
I love that. That's so important. I think more churches should be doing that, because I mean, just even thinking about myself and for our family, one of the biggest struggles is, I mean, we have young kids, but even for my wife and I, like, how do we not spend so much time on our phones, right? To make sure that our kids know that, hey, they are the most important thing, not these devices that we're
Yes.
staring at. So I think if more and more churches did that and could get families to participate in something like that, I think that's going to help a lot of marriages, a lot of
Yes.
relationships between kids and parents. Super, super important.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
100%. And I didn't answer your other question about like women's breakfast.
Yeah.
So one thing we always do is we're super intentional in the timing that we do things. So women's breakfast and we do a men's breakfast. They generally always fall when we're in the midst of group signups. So there's a next step. So we see at these events there are some attraction to first-time people. Typically it's invites from somebody, not as much as just like seeing it online. But typically we find that that is a great opportunity for people to take a next step, that maybe they've just been coming and attending but haven't plugged into anything yet. We always push to group signups as a next step, and sometimes there may be another type of next step, but we intentionally plan those where there's a next step attached to them.
That's important. You've incorporated like mental health topics, into your ministry. How does Bethlehem incorporate those mental health topics into its ministry, and how have these topics resonated with people?
Yeah, well, man, I don't think it matters where you live, especially on the post-COVID side of things. Mental health has been an issue. I mean, we're seeing it in schools like never before. Like things are so different than when I, grew up and came through school. So I think one big thing for us is we have a pastor who's not afraid to address it from stage. He's been open a few different times right after he became lead pastor here. And he's been here about 14 years. A short while after, he ended up having a severe struggle with anxiety that, of course, you couldn't tell from the outside at the time, but what he was dealing with. So I think him being super open about that struggle just kind of breaks down some defenses and some barriers people have. And I can remember at least 2 messages off the top of my head where he has had a panel on stage, at least one of which is a licensed professional counselor that has spoken to things and he's asked questions to. And I think that, we say everything kind of trickles down from the top. Our culture, just a lot of things start with your lead pastor in a church. We actually have certified pastoral counselors on staff. We have a network throughout the community and surrounding areas of counselors that we have vetted and we trust. So we have like a referral list of recommended counselors. And the coolest thing, we actually just announced this. We have partnered with 2 other churches, Watkinsville First Baptist and Prince Avenue First Baptist, to help launch a brand new counseling agency in the community. So the three churches kind of got together. Mental health resources have been a great need. And while we have fantastic partners, basically everybody's got a caseload with no room to add more. And so you find people more and more just on a waiting list to get services. So we kind of talked through the options of us launching that in partnership with the churches, and ultimately what made the most sense was to get behind another established organization that wasn't already in our community and help them launch here to serve more people. So that literally just happened in March. So super excited to see where that goes.
I love that. And you're so right how a lot of times things like this can trickle down from leadership. And I love the fact that your pastor was open about that. I'm sure there's so many pastors going through this, and
yes.
I mean, so many people, I've, even struggled. There's tons of people going through things like this, and they're just not willing to just be open about it.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can be open about that, then you can start helping people that you're leading
yes.
as well.
Yes.
Very
it goes
powerful.
back to that vulnerability, the vulnerability and leading to transformation. Like when you can help people let their guards down and give them an opportunity to be vulnerable, God can do a lot with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Bethlehem has a pretty strong volunteer culture. What steps do you take to engage and train volunteers, and how do you foster that servant-hearted community at Bethlehem?
Yeah, I think we are just super convinced that we want more for you than from you. And we know when people will step into serving that that's what they're going to experience, that they are going to be blessed more than they think they're blessing other people. And I think that that's attractional. I think when you experience that, you want to invite others to experience that. And when others see somebody and the joy they have serving, they want to be a part of that. So I think that is a big piece of it. Secondly, I think we equip our volunteers really well. Each ministry, no matter which one it is, from guest services to kids ministry and all in between, they all have an onboarding process. So nobody takes the reins in a position until they're completely comfortable. So that is one-on-one conversations, that shadowing, and any other means necessary to get people equipped and comfortable. And we also, some positions in our church do require you to be a member. I believe, I don't want to say too much off the cuff and be wrong, but I think a small group leader is one of them, because you want people in leadership and speaking into other people, to be confident they believe what we believe.
Yes, absolutely.
But there are other positions such as greeter where you don't have to be a member to do that. Mm-hmm. And so we have found some people serve before becoming members, and that really helps nudge them that this is their home. This is where they're supposed to be. And we have a membership class almost once a month, and there's always a push to just take ownership. Pastor Jason used to always say, when you go to a gym and treadmills broke, you just tell the people at the desk, treadmill's broke, it needs to be fixed, and you wash your hands of it. But here we're saying we're all a part of this. So don't tell me something's broke, you need to help fix it. So just really having an ownership mentality as we go through our first step, which we might get to in a minute, and then our membership classes. It's not about belonging to a club. That's not what we are.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us more about your first step. And I'd love to hear kind of the whole process of, starting from people. Well, I maybe before we get onto that, actually, what I love to hear first is when someone first walks through the door, what are some of the things, you've got a great volunteer team. What are some of the things that you do to make those people feel welcome, when they first walk through that door? What does your team do to help them want to come back, right, after visiting for that first time? I'd love to hear kind of the process from when someone drives through the parking lot to that week following the service.
Yeah, so we hope when they pull on the campus, obviously their experience starts with our parking volunteers. We've got a great group. I think it's all guys. We need to get some ladies out there, but I've always told them if it's 68 to 70 degrees and not raining, I'll come help them. but outside of those parameters, I'm not going out there. But we hope that they have a great experience first and foremost when they pull in. And then crazy enough, even as large as we are, a lot of our parking lot guys recognize vehicles. I don't know if that's like unique to us. Not that they know every single person coming on, but they can a lot of times spot a new person. And so when that happens, they are super intentional about going to them.
I mean, guys are typically pretty good with knowing cars.
Yes.
So it's like, I haven't seen, Honda Civic pull in. Or
yes, that's right.
No, I love that, though. That's amazing. So they recognize
the
new cars from the very start.
Yes,
wow.
they have. They definitely have at times. And I don't know if if people are in the parking lot like they are in service where they park in the same spot and they sit in the same spot. I don't know. There could be some of that going on.
Yeah.
But obviously, if our parking team knows that somebody's a first-time guest, they're super intentional about either walking them, actually to the door to come in and passing them off to a greeter. A lot of times that happens. In our new facility, it's super easy to spot how to get in and out of the building, which is not a luxury we had at the old campus. But then our greeters, if they're adults with no kids, they'll take them to our Connect area where we have a bag of locally fresh ground coffee that we give them to take home. And
I like that it's local too. You focus on the local coffee.
Yes, local
nice.
fresh ground.
Yep.
And then they can answer any questions that they have. And then we have a free cafe. A lot of churches do that. So we offer free coffee every weekend at our services. And they walk them over there and then walk them into the auditorium and hand them off to an usher who gets them a seat. And there's a lot of times we have some spots kind of reserved for first-time guests. So especially if it's getting busy and filling up and a guest comes, we've got somewhere for them to go. We do have a secondary venue that's an option as well, but to get them in the main room is a big deal. And if they have kids, the greeter would take them to our first-time family team, which will get their kids registered and checked in. And then we walk them to the kids' rooms. We don't just point and say it's that way, follow the signs. We walk them to the rooms. That first-time family team stays with them, offers them coffee, and then again takes them into the auditorium where the ushers help them get seated. And then that it doesn't stop there, obviously. You don't just help them get seated and you're done. If you have kids, our kids ministry team will actually make a phone call to the parents that next week and send a handwritten note to the child and family. And then
cool.
If you're just an adult or a couple without kids, our discipleship team calls you sometime that next week. A member on our discipleship team calls, and then any first-time guest or first-time family gets an email from our lead pastor that week, just thanking them for choosing Bethlehem and that, our heart for them is to get connected here to first and foremost know Jesus. We exist to lead people to discover new life in Christ, and so just helping get them connected and grow in a relationship with Jesus. So that's pretty much the process.
I love how intentional that is. I talk to churches quite a bit. They're wondering, like, how can we work on, like, closing the back door or,
Yeah.
So people aren't coming in, walking out. I'm like, I have to be like, hey, usually it's usually your problem. I can't help a whole lot of that area. But I think just that intentionality with each individual and making sure that they feel seen. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of these people coming in, I'm sure, have even grown up and maybe they haven't felt seen, maybe from their parents, they didn't feel seen, or, and then they walk into a church for the first time and they just feel this overwhelming love.
Yes.
And like people see them, they notice them, how powerful, that is. So, and obviously a big part of it too is after that whole experience is like, how do you get them connected into community as well? Mm-hmm. But I think you guys, I love that the handwritten notes, all of those steps that you guys take are huge.
And I think that, again, starts with the top. Our pastor is super relational. So after every service, pretty much, he's in the lobby So he's shaking hands, he's praying with people. We have a really relational staff. Matter of fact, I put a note on my door that I was in a podcast session because we cut up, we have a good time, and so somebody could just blow through my door for fun. But I think that's what you see. We're not about the numbers and the masses. We're about the people and the souls being saved. So we take the time with people. You see our staff in the lobby talking with people. You see our lead pastor in the lobby talking with people. So
I love that.
People
so
feel
powerful.
felt and seen.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted to ask about two more questions, and I know we're coming up to time here pretty soon, but I wanted to hear more about kind of that next step of getting them involved in next steps and in small group. What do you kind of do there to encourage people to not just be a drive-through church, but they actually get involved afterward in the community?
We are super passionate about groups, and we always have about a 4 or 5 week window for group signups. We do spring groups and fall groups. Some groups meet longer than that and even year round. We've just started some what we call disciple classes, focusing on theology or biblical topics. But we believe we were meant to be in community with others, and it's hard to grow by yourself. You can't really do much in isolation. You need the support. Like, you look throughout the Bible, I mean, people met in homes. Like, that was the early church. It was all about community and reaching people. So obviously we're super intentional with our lobby setups during group sign up times. We try to market with some testimonial videos, funny group videos, want to sign up for a group. And so if you're a first time guest, I've left this part out, but we have a QR code on the screen during the host spot where you can fill out more information. You can fill out information so we can begin to get to know you. But we also have a first step gathering after every service. And it's just a quick 10-minute gathering where we tell you a little bit about who Bethlehem is, and we give you next steps. So one next step is membership class, which we have almost monthly. Another next step is groups, and then another next step is serving, either inside the church or with our community. We do a ton of outreach locally and globally. So if you're a first-time guest and you come to First Step, we're going to give you 3 options off the bat to take a next step, groups being one of those. We have been pleasantly surprised. We probably have about 50% of our adult congregation involved in a group.
Okay.
It has been, yes, it has been mind-blowing.
That's awesome. And for a larger church too, that's impressive.
Yes, how to keep people connected. And I mentioned earlier, Regen and Reengage. We've got Grief Share. We've got groups that talk about a book, like a regular book or a specific book of the Bible. We've got sermon-based small groups. So there's also a variety of groups. And then you've got women's, men's, co-ed, married couples, young adults. We have a growing young adult ministry, so I think having a lot of options available so people can find something where they fit best is really important.
Yeah, that's great. One more question I want to ask you before we close up here. Looking ahead, what are some key goals or upcoming initiatives that Bethlehem is excited about? And how do you see the church continuing to grow and impact the community in the next few years?
Yeah, so we're really excited. After Easter and into the fall, we have our 2 other campuses, 211 and Oconee, and they are out of space as well. So we will be starting as early as May, possibly, renovating and expanding each campus to make room for more. So those are going to be huge for those campuses and those communities to have space for more kids, more students, more adults, more life change. It's going to be incredible. And they have, patiently waited the last 2 years in the process of us building a new central campus. So excited for the whole church for what's coming. We also, even though I said earlier that we didn't set out to be a multi-campus church, like that wasn't and original goal. We do feel a strong calling to be in a community near us. So we are actually actively pursuing a fourth campus. We feel just confident God has called us to another community nearby. So we are actively seeking that and waiting for the Lord to open just the right door to do that. So that's something on the horizon that we'll be really excited about.
That is so exciting. And man, what an awesome story to hear, how Bethlehem has grown, and just hearing how you have all, treated the people coming through the doors, each Sunday, and really seeing your leadership and how it's kind of that humility and that openness from leadership has trickled down to the rest of the community. And, I'm not surprised that you're continuing to see that growth. But like you said, you're opening the sails and you're letting God lead you, which I think is totally right and so powerful. I think God is blessing, your ministry, and I think you're obviously impacting a lot of lives. I'm really super happy that we had this conversation, and that really a lot of other communications directors will be able to see this. And Candy, you were one of the, I think, like the sweetest, kindest, most humble people that we know, that we've worked with. You have done incredible work at Bethlehem, and I think a lot of that growth is thanks to a lot of the hard work from you as well, and obviously your team. You have a great team under you as well. But thank you so much, Candy, for taking the time to speak with me, and really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. I am honored to be here. So thank you so much. Thank you for all that you guys are doing to help us succeed in what we're doing.
Happy to. You're great to work with. So thank you, Candy. And thank you, everyone, for listening in today.